In this video, I want to go into a little more detail about my installation of MX Linux 17.1. Going back to my last video, I mentioned that I had installed the Flatpak version of Kdenlive, and the reason I did that is that the version in the stable repository was 16.12, really old, and the Flatpak version was 18.08.3. And I did edit the entire video using the Flatpak version of Kdenlive. However, when it came to rendering it, the rendering never completed in the Flatpak version. It always stopped short of completion. So I decided to download the app image version of Kdenlive, and in the app image version, which was also version 18.08.3, the rendering could never even get underway. It just said waiting, waiting, waiting. So I tried something else. I went to the MX test repo, and it warns me about it. Close. And there I also found the 18.08.3 version of Kdenlive, and I installed that, got rid of the Flatpak, got rid of the app image, and it worked. I was able to render the video using the MX test repo. So that's one issue resolved. Here's another feature that I like about MX Linux. If you've ever seen me install my Brother printer, you know that I frequently open the terminal in a folder, in a particular folder, and the easiest way to do that is to go to the folder, right-click, and then click on Open Terminal here. And when you do that, you usually get a very long command prompt. And this is exacerbated if you make the text larger. It often gets to the point where your command prompt takes up the entire line. And in most terminal emulators, you begin at the end of the first line and you skip down to the next line. And whatever you type in is divided between two lines. But in the MX terminal, everything but the $sign appears on the line preceding your text entry, so you have the entire line available to enter text. I'm not going to proceed, but you get the idea. This is just typical of the thoughtfulness that goes into some of the MX applications. Now I'd like to go into some of the MX tools. I'm not going to go into all of them in detail. There's a live USB kernel updater. I don't happen to have a live USB running at the moment. There's the MX boot options. These are some of the boot options. The menu timeout is 5 seconds. It boots the MX17 Horizon. That happens to be the only thing I have on my internal drive at the moment. You can enable saving the last boot choice. You can use flat menus, no submenus. It has a background which you can get rid of if you wish. The splash screen can be enabled or disabled. I don't like splash screens on boot. They just slow things down. And this is not enabled. I'm going to leave it that way. Messages are either very detailed, which is the default, or limited. And then you can display the log here if you want. I'm not going to do any of those. Here's the boot repair. What would I like to do? Reinstall grub, repair grub, backup master boot record, restore master boot record. I'm not going to do any of those. I'm going to cancel it. But it gives you some of the options. MX cleanup, quick and safe removal of old files. Let's see what it finds. Actually, this is configured by default not to do things. And for now, I'm going to leave it that way. But I could clean folders, clear the app cache, delete logs, empty trash. I could schedule automatic cleans, but I don't want to. I could run the disk usage analyzer, but I don't want to do that. Now this one I've used, MX Codex Installer. It allows me to install restricted codecs, and it warns me that may be illegal in some places. I've already done this, so I'm not going to do it, but if I do it, I have to accept responsibility for the consequences. Now, MX Konkey changes the details of the desktop system monitor, and I actually don't want to do anything there. I got rid of the konkey with the konkey toggle, and I don't want to take the chance of getting it back. But if you like konkeys, MX Linux is loaded with konkey features. MX Fix GPG keys. It checks and installs missing apt GPG keys. MX Device Mounter. A GUI for mounting and unmounting iPhones and iPads. I don't have either one. MX Live USB Maker. I don't really use this because I use GNOME disks for creating live USBs. And it has the menu editor. I'm not going to do anything with that now. It has a network assistant for configuring and troubleshooting networks. It has the MX package installer, which I covered in a little detail in my last videos. It has MX Remaster CC live persistence and remastering tools. It has the MX Repo Manager. If you want to find your local repos, here you can find them. I'm using the United States Utah repository at the moment. Those are the MX repos. Then you have Debian repos. Then you have individual sources from MX, Google Chrome, etc. Then MX Select Sound is a way of selecting your default sound card. I don't want to mess with that right now. MX Snapshot creates a live ISO snapshot of your running system. Might be worth doing occasionally so you have something you can reinstall without having to go back through the entire process. MX System Sound gives you a way to configure event and session sounds. MX Tweak, I've run that before. I have the panels listed. This just affects the first panel. Then if you go to theme, I can choose a theme set. And I haven't done that, I've just left it the way it was. Compositor, there's none at the moment. Configuration options. Reset Light DM login screen to system default theme. Reset tuner custom. Right-click actions to system defaults. Use Intel driver instead of default mod setting drivers that requires a restart. I could enable single click on the desktop. I could enable single click in the Thunar file manager. I'm going to leave this unchecked. Show windows from all workspaces in the panel. I don't want to do that. I'd like to keep them separate from workspace to workspace. Enable mounting of internal drives by non-root users. It's okay with me because I'm the only user. disable shortening of long file names on the desktop. Yes, I don't want to shorten them, so I've left that disabled. Enable hibernate on logout menu. I don't want to hibernate. Hibernating takes a lot of swap space. I only have 2 gigabytes here, and I don't generally hibernate. MX User Manager. I don't want to change users, but I could if I wanted to. MX Welcome. This is the welcome screen that first appears when you initially install MX Linux. There's a user's manual. This is, of course, online. There's a wiki online. There's a shortcut to some of the MX tools that I'm discussing now. There's a tweak panel, and I use this to move my panel to the top. There are forums, videos, a way to contribute, and popular applications. So I have unchecked Show this dialog on Startup. Now there's an Nvidia driver installer, but I don't happen to have an Nvidia driver, so I can't tell you how well this works, but if you do have an Nvidia driver, hopefully this will make life a little easier for you. Now here's one I really like, Quick System Info. And I can make this window larger. And this gives you a lot of information you need to know. Now this is actually an implementation of a bash script. If I open another instance of the terminal and type INXI space -V space 8 and press enter, you can see I get the same thing. Now what this means is it uses the INXI utility. -V stands for verbosity, and 8 is the highest level of verbosity, which is the most information. However, if you're like me, you often forget these bash commands, especially the options. So it's nice to be able to do that from this simple MX tool. And I can configure the keyboard, but I'm not going to change that. I can configure system locales for the system environment. Let's see what we have there. I am not going to change anything right now. Now with the task manager running and simple screen recorder running, you can see that I'm using about 46 to 48% of my CPU capacity, about 19% of my memory, and 0 swap. In addition to that one, you also have HTOP, if you prefer. That says I'm using 672 megabytes of memory, 0 swap. And it breaks down my CPU usage by cores. I have a 4-core Pentium processor. So that's a slightly more detailed look at my installation of MX Linux 17.1. And this video is going to be edited and rendered in Kdenlive version 18.08.3 as obtained from the MX testing repository. This is XRAM Tech. Thanks for watching.